started. I'm going to call to order a meeting of the North Andover School Committee. Today's date is Thursday, February 17th, 28th on the mind, 2022. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. There are still a couple of seats if you're looking for them. I would like to just remind people, if you have a cellular device, to please silence it. So we are going to get started. We're going to get started with public comment. Before we do, Ms. Picard, are you still going to try to connect somebody in?
We do have one person who'd like a call.
Okay.
When I called earlier, I got an answering machine, so hopefully it will work out. They were not expecting my call earlier, but I try to call people to ensure I have the right number and such.
Okay. All right. So before we go into public comment, I'm just going to read. This is on the agenda. Again, we're going to keep public comment to probably 20 minutes tonight. I recognize there's a lot of people here. I recognize there's probably a lot of similar feelings. So I'm going to be asked that we be respectful of time and probably vote on what I think you may be here for with that. So public comment is not a discussion or a debate or a dialogue between the citizens and the school committee. It is a citizen's opportunity to express his, her, their opinion on issues of the school committee business. The committee may respond to a public comment by taking it under consideration when deliberating on an agenda item or refer the item to the administration for appropriate action or response. Public comment shall be for a period of 15 to 25 minutes, with speakers being allowed 3 minutes to present their materials. So we are going to start virtually, if that's okay with you, Ms. Picard. She looks frozen. Yep. Either that or... All right.
You're having a little trouble in the room. You went all funky on us, so that's, I don't know how many of our faces you can see, but all of us did this.
Okay. All right.
That's code for something's funky.
Okay. All right, so we're going to take our first caller, if that's okay, Ms. Picard.
Yep, let me connect him in.
Just left it on.
Okay.
At the time, you see it matches up.
It's a one-call deal.
Name and number, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks.
Stephanie,
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Stephanie, this is Helen Picard calling from the North Andover School Committee meeting. I'm sorry we missed your public comment tonight. Thank you. Mr. McDevitt, we do have public comment at the end, so at your discretion, I'm happy to call back later if you'd like.
Okay.
When I did leave a message for Stephanie earlier today, I did tell her that public comment would be available in person, so she may be in the room or she may come to the room either at the beginning or end of the meeting.
Okay. All right. All right, so again, we're going to try to keep public comment 15, 25 minutes or so. If the thought that you wish to express has been expressed a couple of times, I'm going to ask that, you just kind of maybe raise your hand and show us that that's where you're feeling, to be respectful of time. And I know many of you have families to get home to bed. All right, so first comment. And just for the record, name and address, please.
Kevin Doobie, 76 Boston Hill Road. I just want to give my support for revoking the mask mandate effective February 28th. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right.
That leaves me 3.5 minutes. My name is Jennifer Allerud, 39 Franklin Street. I'm here speaking on the mask mandates in our schools. We all know the information out there, and what I want to share tonight is how this has affected my babies as a mom. My youngest son was nearly 4 when his school closed from March until July 30th, Goddard. And the day it opened, he was really happy, but they had to go back with masks, and I think the kids really adapted to it better than we thought they ever would. However, we're now 2 years in. And my now kindergartner goes to ABECC. I love this town. This place is wonderful. Who is 40% deaf for the first 2 years of his life before we found out and surgery was given. He has a hearing deficiency. So for the first 2 years of his life, he really relied on facial expressions and tonality. And so he's not been able to use that communication skill since, because it's grossly affected his demeanor and his mindset. After 2 years, Mikey has changed from a fun-loving, happy-go-lucky, go-with-the-flow child, like he would just, whatever was going on, he was cool with it, to asking why everyone is mad at him. Why are his teachers yelling at him? And it's not that they're yelling at him, it's that we're fighting through this mask. We're forcing our voices. And then it's not that we're talking louder, but I feel like it's a literal forcing the voice through, and the kids are hearing it differently. And my son, who thought everyone in the world loved him, now feels like he hates himself because he's getting talked down to every day at school. It's not the case. His teacher's wonderful. She's amazing. But I really feel that that's part of the problem. His self-esteem has tanked, his empathy has tanked, and his energy has tanked. I believe in public schools. I believe this is the best place for our kids. They learn teamwork. They learn to work with people they don't like in order to still be successful in life. And that's why I still have him in the school system. Actual life skills is what he's getting here. I want my kids to be in the group setting, but the masks have worn my children down, and I don't think that they're the only kids that feel that way. So I humbly beg you to remove the mask mandate. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, just super fast, before you go, because you're a minor, I'm just going to ask that you not give your address, but maybe your grade, if that's okay with your parents. Okay, all right, thank you.
Hi, my name is Gracie Vanessa, and I'm a 5th grade student from Kittredge Elementary School. I think kids at all schools should have a choice to wear masks or not. When I'm at recess or gym and I have been running around, it's hard for me to breathe, and it feels like I'm going to faint or pass out. All day long, we are touching and pulling our masks up because after hours, it gets very uncomfortable for all of us to cover our faces. At lunch, we can't all talk to each other because we were all told our germs could spread and we could get someone sick. It is more of a distraction at school than protecting us. Everyone in my class who has gotten COVID barely had any symptoms, and the only reason they had to stay home was because the school made them. I'm sick of living this way, and a lot of my friends are too, especially when the only people left who are required to wear them are us kids, who aren't even getting really sick from it. It's not fair. Please let us make our own personal choice to wear a mask or not. 2 years has been long enough for us to control the virus. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to say, very well said and very brave.
Hello, my name is Cordelia Young, and I am a 7th grader at NAMS. We have a choice to mask, but if it was exercise or choice, we are separated by 6 feet. The masks make us more tired when exercising, like gym or yoga wellness. The masks make it harder to hear people. Our voices get muffled. I don't want to be separated, and I don't want to wear a mask.
Hi, my name is Jeremy Young. I live at 29 South Bradford Street in North Andover, Mass. So I know Dr. Gilligan and I have talked, and Mr. G at the North Andover Middle School, but I wanted to bring it to the attention of the school committee as well. While CMR 608, CMR 27.08 is a regulation, the laws in which it backs up to do not specifically state that you have the right to mandate the use of medical devices. The FDA has declared that cloth masks, as well as additional other masks, specifically used for the purpose of restricting the spread of disease, including COVID, is a medical device. They call that medical purposes. The only locations in the schools physically that are not subject to the school rules is the nurse's station, which is considered a medical facility. For those purposes, masks can be required because it is a medical facility. Additionally, I made a public records request of the determination made by the board and the school district as to the legality of utilizing medical devices on children without parental consent, to which I received there was none at this time. And so I want to say, like my daughter just said, that it is a choice for the students to continue to mask. It is not, as of yet, been shown that it is a lawful order to require the use of medical devices. If a child wants to use a medical device at school, or their parents want to, or their physician, requires a note from their doctor, additional paperwork required by the school district, a review of that, possibly a 504 plan, or an addition of a health safety plan if a child's on an IEP. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You can move that down. There you go.
Okay, there we go. Hello, my name is Emily Stronk, and I am a 6th grader at NAMS. I am here tonight to tell you that I think we should be able to make the decision on whether or not to wear the mask in school. It should be a choice. I have friends who will still wear one, and that is okay because they feel it is the right thing for them. I feel as if I cannot get a break from constant reminders to keep my mask on. There are always people on patrol, and it makes me feel uncomfortable. I am a good student, and I've followed the rules for almost 2 years. It is time for me to be able to make a choice on whether or not to wear the mask in school. I do not like the feeling that someone is watching me every second. I am doing my best. I love school, my friends, and my teachers. I just don't like the masks. I want to see faces and smiles. It is important for me to speak here because my voice matters. I am strong, I am brave, and I am here to support my brother Gabriel, my good friend Avery Cataldo, and my friends who may not feel courageous enough to speak about this. We have shown respect and followed the rules. It is time to make masks in school a choice. Please vote to make them a choice starting on February 28th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Avery Cataldo, and I'm a 6th grade student at North Andover Middle School, and I'm going to try to convince you that we don't need masks in school anymore. I feel that we don't need masks in school because 1, schools are for learning, and my 1st grade sister Reagan has trouble reading because it's hard to read when you're wearing a mask. Also, people with glasses have trouble looking at the board with masks on because it fogs the glasses up, which makes it harder to see. My sister Stella wears glasses and said that it's a problem for her. I personally feel that students should be able to see what their teachers actually look like because I don't know what my teachers look like. And I want to be able to see my friends' smiles too. Kids at school wear masks because they're forced to, but when they get together outside of school, they don't wear them, which makes masks useless even if they did work. Also, I get it that if you're misbehaving in school, then you should be reprimanded. But we are getting yelled at for not covering our face with a mask. That's just child abuse. I'll walk by classrooms where teachers are having meetings, and they don't wear masks. How come they don't get in trouble, but we do? My sister's preschool she goes to has an optional mask policies. Most kids don't wear masks, and there's been no COVID outbreaks. Most people at my school wear the masks under their nose, so what's the point of them anyway? We want personal choices. I want my childhood back. Because of this virus and masks and social distancing, there are no father-daughter dances, no dances in general, and also the windows have to be open on the bus in winter. At lunch, we have assigned seats. Why? I personally think that this pandemic affects the kids the most, because all those fun memories were taken away because of the virus and masks. Also, if you're going to allow masks optional in school, don't just take it away from the kids that are vaccinated, because that's just discrimination. If I don't have to wear masks here right now in a town building, then tell me why I have to wear one in school, which is also a town building.
Hello. Mr. McDevitt?
Oh, 1 second, sir. Yes, Helen. Ms.
I
Picard.
just want to let you know that I am present. I'm having a glitchy video experience tonight, which is the first time I have. But I just wanted to assure you that I am here, I am hearing, and you can hear me.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Hello, My name is Gabriel Strong, and I am a 4th grader at Sargent School. I love my school and I love my teachers and learning with all my friends. I have followed the rules for almost 2 years, and I think it is time that we get to choose whether or not to wear a mask in school. I want to see my friends' faces. That will make me so happy. I want school to feel normal again. I do not want my teachers to feel that they have to be mask police anymore. I have asthma and I do not get vaccinated for COVID. My sister and mom had it over Christmas and I never got it. My body is strong and I am not afraid to go to school without a mask. I will respect my friends and my teacher if they want to wear one. I respect their choices and I want people to respect mine. We are taught to follow rules in school all the time. I should have a choice too. Please make masks a choice in schools beginning on February 28th. Thank you.
I think the students are speaking well. Any other comments?
My kids have already gone, so.
I know. We get 3 for 3.
3 for 3. Maybe I can get my husband to do 4 for 4.
Oh.
Rebecca Stronk, 657 Forest Street. Good evening. Tonight you have the opportunity to make the decision to give our children in North Andover schools the freedom to breathe freely, see friends and teachers' smiles, and to feel normal again. In my mind, the decision should be easy. Vote to make masks optional starting no later than February 28th. Our children have been burdened with so many restrictions for over 700 days that have impacted nearly every aspect of their young lives. Many families eagerly anticipated the announcement last week by DESE and Governor Baker and felt a sense of relief to hear that they were allowing districts to make the decision to make masks an option in schools. With cases having fallen precipitously in North Andover since the peak at the end of 2021, it is time to lift the mask mandate on February 28th and let the social and emotional healing begin. Tonight my children spoke. They are strong and brave, and we are proud. Please listen to their words carefully. They are the ones that matter.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Cataldo. I live at 117 Brookview Drive. I have 4 children between the ages of 5 and 11. I'm very passionate about removing the mask mandate in our schools. I could stand up and spout off all kinds of statistics and facts for why these children don't need to wear masks anymore, but I'm sure you've heard it all. I'd like to tell you that for me and several others that I know, it's not even necessarily about the masks. It's about giving families back the freedom to make the best choices for their families. It's about human connection. Unless you're wearing an N95, we know these little cotton or paper masks are all for show. It tells the world that you care about others. That's not how it should be. That's the wrong message. We've been playing that game for far too long now. It's time we let these kids just be kids again. Let them see their friends' smiles. They do anyway outside of school. This week I was at a large gathering and I was not wearing a mask. The 8-year-old of a close friend looked at me and said, "You're going to get sick." Mind you, this is coming from a child of a like-minded family that is opposed to masking their children. It struck me how sad her statement was. Where did she learn this since it didn't come from her family? This is what our children are being taught. Is this the mindset that we're okay with? It shouldn't be. For the same reason we don't say upon entering a car, we could get into an accident. It seems apparent that for many people, the extra COVID precautions are causing unnecessary anxiety. This isn't about public health anymore. This is about control. During this pandemic, we've all had to give up so much. It's time to move on. We need to put our mental health in the same category, if not above, our physical health. If we can't have mask choice now, then I ask you, when can we?
I think there's a theme with the comments. Any new comments? Okay. All right. We are going to close public comment at this point. We're going to move on to recognition. There is not recognition tonight, so we're going to move on to consent agenda. So we have the minutes from the meeting on February 3rd, 2022.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the minutes from February 3rd, 2022 as presented.
Okay, is there a second? Ms. Petrowski? All right, discussion.
My name is misspelled.
I actually emailed Michelle about your name, but I didn't notice yours was misspelled.
All right, we'll get
So
those.
she has made a change electronically.
There are a lot of letters.
A lot of hard letters. We'll get those updated for the record. Any other notations in the, or corrections in the minutes? Nope. Okay. Is there there was a motion, we'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Picardi, you're frozen, but
I
you're
am.
still there. Okay, all right. We'll take a voice if you're okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I vote yes.
Yes, you vote yes. All right. Ms. Mavely?
Yes.
Ms. Petrowski?
Yes.
Ms. Vitsky?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Minutes are approved, 5-0. All right. I know I did change the order. Sorry, different room. I have to mix things up. All right. Thompson Playground donation. Dr. Mealy, would you like to speak to this? We asked the Thompson PTO, I know, to attend, and they were not able to make it tonight. So Dr. Mealy gets the honors.
Yes. Each year, the town has $100,000 available for different playgrounds. And we've been going through, we've done Atkinson, Franklin, Sergeant kicked it off, and some of the town playgrounds as well. This year it's Thompson, and what some of the schools have been doing is they might want more than what the $100,000 can get, and so they raise that money, donate it to the school committee, and add it to the $100,000 to get the equipment that they want for that school. So that's what Thompson's doing.
Okay. All right. Is there a motion regarding the donation from the Thompson PTO?
I'll move that the school committee accept the donation in the amount of $21,994 from the Thompson PTO that will be used towards the purchase, renovation of the Thompson, I think it should say playground, yeah.
I corrected that too.
Perfect. All right. Second by Ms. Petrowski. All right. Any discussion? Hearing none, seeing none. Ms. Picard's back live.
Yes, I'm almost always have a discussion.
Okay.
So, I have a couple of questions. First, does this impact, does this impact in any way what organization does the install? Or are we using folks that we've used before? Just,
There's,
Dr. Mealy?
yeah, there are some eligible vendors that each school is given. So we are using a firm that's been used before.
Okay. And again, I know I asked an equity question when we had Sergeant come up. I'm concerned that we could at some point become inequitable, even though we start with a base of 100,000. If different folks are raising different amounts of money, we may have very different playgrounds at different schools at some point in the future. And I just feel the need to say that and trust that you will continue to look at that and be aware of that. And if we need to raise the base so that we have equity, I trust that we'll be doing that and we'll talk about it.
I would just say that so far they've consistently ranged between 20 and 25,000. But if some school did raise more, then the school committee could decide that it didn't want it to get to that extent and have that discussion at that point.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Or
Any other?
if a school was not able to raise as much, that we might be able to find funds that would assist
Correct.
those other schools.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Any other questions, Ms. Picard?
All set for now, thanks.
Any from the room? All right. Roll call vote. Ms. Picard.
Yes.
Ms. Petrowski, we'll go back to the order. All right. Ms. Vitsky?
Yes.
Ms. Mahaley?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, 5-0. Congratulations and thank you to the Thompson
Yes.
PTO and families for their hard work and donations.
So I can remember, I can say something, Mr. Chair, that I was a PTO president many, many years ago, and we started these playground projects with Sergeant many years ago, and Thompson was the very last one because they had the newest playground, and it got moved up, and it's here, and that was long 10 years, but that's exciting.
And you're here
And I was there, I'm here.
for another month.
For 2 more meetings after
All
today.
right. Perfect. All right, so I think I see our students here, Lindsay and Ethan. How are you guys tonight?
Hi, we're doing pretty well, thank you. Or
All right.
at least I am, thanks.
I'm doing well too, thank you.
The floor is yours.
All right, sounds great. Thank you very much. To start out with our student report, we'd like to give a quick update on the NAS 22 Future Plans page. We have had 5 new entries in the past 2 weeks. Casey Burke plans to attend George Washington University with a major in exercise science and a commitment to D1 gymnastics. Kevin Packard plans to attend Boston College as undecided. Keegan Dix plans to attend the University of New Hampshire as undecided with plans to play soccer while in university.
Samuel DeMorum plans to attend Northern Essex Community College with a major in criminal justice and plans to play soccer. AJ Lawrence plans to attend Endicott College with a major in exercise science and a commitment to play D3 football.
And that wraps up all the new entries we've gotten for the NAS 22 Future Plans page. Again, that's on Instagram at NAHS 22 Future Plans. Please go check it out. You can see all of the students who have updated the page with where they will be attending, what major they plan to pursue while in college, and also if they have a commitment to a sport while in college. Next up, we have AP exam registration. Originally, AP exam registration was due this past Monday, February 14th, but the deadline has been extended to tomorrow. So if anyone who is in an AP course who still has to register for an AP exam and would like to is watching this right now, please go on that email that was sent out a couple weeks ago in order to register.
Another thing that was also sent out by guidance, more specifically Ms. Donahue, was the scholarship for seniors last Friday at 10 a.m. So please, seniors, look out for that email and get started on your scholarships.
In addition, tonight for sports, there are actually no games or meets. In addition, for the Drama Guild, the musical Mamma Mia just wrapped up last weekend, and the cast did really well, especially for being masked. And currently, the Drama Guild is holding auditions for a series of comedy vignettes. The show is called All in the Timing, and tomorrow is actually the last day for auditions. So if anyone is interested, please come to the auditorium at 3:30 p.m. after school.
Additionally, a few NHS members will be helping with a blood drive held at Grace Point Church. And application session is coming up for the class of 2023, so please look out.
We would also like to provide a quick update on a couple of surveys. Of course, the semester survey being one of them and the mask survey being another. So as of tonight, we have decided not to display the results from these because first, we figured tonight might be a busy enough meeting for everyone as it is. And in addition, the mask survey, when we made it, it was in January, right after that spike over winter break. And because of that, we believe that some of the results are a little outdated. Later on, we'll be sharing a couple of comments that are still relevant as they do directly pertain to the discussion of the mask mandate. But we think that the results as a whole within the survey aren't still accurate as they were back in January. And as for the semester survey, the e-board discussed it with Mr. Jackson at our meeting last Friday and has decided that considering this is a busy meeting and last advisory was mainly focused on course selection, another advisory day with maybe a few questions revised might be a better opportunity to get more student input and more accurate student input from that. So that's just where we're at with those surveys.
We're going to be reading a few responses from students at North Andover High School. We think that it's important to voice their concerns, especially seeing that we have seen a few students earlier today. We cannot share any more than this as we're aware of privacy concerns, and we'll get started. The first one states, I think that the mask mandate should be lifted. Studies show that COVID was not spread as much in schools compared to the rest of the country. If kids do get COVID, they are not affected by it as much as older people. I'm aware that there are older teachers in the school, so they could obviously wear masks if they prefer. COVID is never going to go away. It will most likely turn into a virus like the flu that is more prominent in winter, and we will get a yearly booster for it. Continuing with masks until COVID is gone, then we will be wearing masks our whole lives.
Now, the second anonymous response that we would like to show is, It is well due that we should not have to wear masks anymore. It seems incredibly stupid that we are forced to wear them in class, but go to lunch and sit with our friends and take them off, or go outside and take them off. If you still want to wear your mask, go ahead, but we should not be forced to.
And another one says, do you think we should remove the mask mandate right after we've had the worst COVID peak? I've just read that Massachusetts schools are lifting the mask mandate and cases are still averaging 3,500 per day. Honestly, wake up and realize that we are still in a pandemic and 908,000 people have died of COVID just in the US.
Another response was, if you don't need masks in stores or most places around town anymore, I don't understand why we need them in school. COVID will never go away like any other virus. I think the masks are annoying and unnecessary now, especially for people who have breathing problems or glasses because they can't see. Another response was, as someone with a weak immune system, lifting the mask policy is stupid. The masks aid in the containment of the outbreak. These past few years in contact with individuals who have been infected with the virus at school, and the mask kept me safe. I've managed to stay clear of the pandemic by following these simple precautions.
And a more personal comment, my sister was almost hospitalized from this virus, so I know firsthand how serious it is. As a school committee, you have the opportunity to keep people safe, and the safest thing for everyone is keeping the mask policy throughout the rest of the school year. If you choose to lift the mask policy, then give students the opportunity to do Google Meets. Everyone deserves the right to feel safe while learning. It's not fair to penalize the kids for wanting to keep themselves and their families safe at home.
And a final response that we would like to share anonymously is, honestly, I'm keeping my mask on because I don't feel comfortable with the unmasked and unvaccinated people at school. I don't know what they've done and where they've been, and I don't want their actions with being unmasked to affect my family, friends, and I. If people do go unmasked, that at least make it just for the vaccinated people for others' safety. People don't even wear their mask at school, so it's already dangerous enough. Going unmasked is going to cause a huge spread to others who did nothing wrong. Say someone goes to a party, gets COVID, goes to school unmasked, and infects a masked person who stayed in all weekend and was responsible. It's not fair to the person who was safe. That's just my opinion, and I know everyone is entitled to their own, but people can't think for just themselves. They have to think for others as well. Not many students even care about others' safety, so going unmasked is going to cause a lot of tension, sickness, and drama between students and teachers. Going unmasked won't just start COVID issues, but personal issues. A lot of people care very much about masks, and some people are anti-mask, and that will probably start arguments and fights. That is the end of the anonymous comments. We chose to represent each of the major sides that were represented in the survey, and that is the end of our student report for tonight. Are there any questions?
Awesome. Nice job, Ethan and Lindsay. We'll start virtually there. Ms. Picard, any questions?
I really appreciate the depth and breadth of information you guys bring to us. I would ask that the Instagram at NAS22 future plans be in our minutes next time. Not that I think people read our minutes to find your Instagram, but I just think it would be nice to have for posterity. 100 years from now, when the next Dr. Gilligan is reading through old minutes, it'd be fun for them to find that. And I hope students who go on there also feel free to put their commitments to other activities like drama and singing, in addition to sports. What's striking to me is that in your comments, whichever decision we make tonight, whatever we decide about mask policies, we will be labeled by at least some high school students as stupid. Thank you.
An experienced mom of teenagers. So, yes. All right. Forgot my order, Ms. Petrowski.
I don't really have any questions. Thank you. I loved hearing about student commitments to colleges and their futures looking so bright. And
Please use the microphone. We can't hear you.
sorry, I said I don't have any questions. Just really nice to hear about the students going off to college and their commitments and all the good things that are happening right now. So good job again. Thank you. And thank you for representing your student body.
Ms. Vici?
Thank you. My question is, I know you did a good job of representing both sides. Can you tell us what the percentage might have been for each side? Was it overwhelming one side or the other, or was it pretty split?
Currently, we do not have access to the file as we asked a question that might have invaded privacy concerns, which is why we're creating a second survey. But we will get back to you on another week about that. Sorry about that.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Mably?
No questions. Always appreciate your being here.
Great job, guys. Really appreciate it. And I know you mentioned it, but the Mamma Mia performance, if you didn't attend it, I don't know if it's on cam, but it was absolutely incredible. They did a great job. So thank you, guys. Have a great February vacation. And Lindsay, I think you have Mr. North Andover practice right now. All right, good luck.
I'm skipping out.
All right. I knew that. All right, Dr. Gilligan.
All right, we're going to start in the superintendent's report tonight with the health update. And with us tonight, we have Dr. Kenny Chan, our school physician. We have Ms. Cheryl Barzak, Director of Nursing and Health and Wellness. And we have Brian LaGrasse. He is the Public Health Director here in the town of North Andover. And these folks, along with others, make up our COVID task force, and we meet every week. So we'll walk you through our latest health update for February 17th, 2022, as we spent, about an hour together again today, as we do every Thursday. So welcome, and let's get going.
Thank you. The slides will be familiar. I'll use the same format that we've used every school committee meeting. Starting with the dashboard. Today's dashboard, we have 19 cases currently active in our schools right now, staff and students. It continues to go down, which is great. So that's on that side. And so this is the dashboard starting from September. Anyone that hasn't seen this before remembers the spike that we had, over 300 cases some days. But again, now we're pretty consistent, and we're staying, right about actually it's like 29 a week. So this is the weekly new cases starting Wednesday to Wednesday. I took off September and October because the graph is getting so big. If you want to see those, they're reported every week to DESE. So these are the results that we report every week. And again, we've been pretty steady these last couple of weeks. So it's really great. I'm glad to hear that there's no new variants on the horizon and that we can continue in this way. Here are our COVID vaccination percentages. I just want to note the small number is the staff, and we did that staff survey in September, so those numbers may be higher. It was a voluntary survey to the HR department, but the student numbers are correct, and you can see where we stand in each one of our schools.
Hey everybody, thanks for having me back again. How do we get this many people at a Board of Health meeting?
Please use the microphone.
Sorry, Alan. All right, so I just threw together some numbers. I'm doing my dashboard for tomorrow. I'll finish it up sometime tonight, get it posted tomorrow. I've been doing it every week. Hopefully you guys all take a look at it. A lot of work goes into it. But currently right now we have about 32 cases, active cases in town. This has been on a steady decline since January. We haven't seen numbers this low literally since the early fall and late summer. So things are trending in the right direction, which is really good to see. Also, our vaccination rates are extremely high. Massachusetts is a front runner across the country in vaccination rates, which is fantastic to see. Our town itself, out of our eligible population, which is 5 and above, is 82% vaccinated, fully vaccinated. Including the ages that can't get vaccinated yet, we're at 77% fully vaccinated, and 44% of the entire town has also gotten a booster. So we're doing really well. Things are looking fantastic in that regard. We have done several vaccination clinics through the schools, so I appreciate your help with getting those things set up and the space and all that kind of stuff. We do have one scheduled for the 25th. At the high school again, this will be first doses, second doses for pediatrics, adults, and boosters for teachers if they're available and if they want to show up and go. We're going to get the link out so people can sign up and pick a slot. I think we have 200 slots set aside for that specific clinic. The positivity rate is also going down. Mass is at 2.7%. We're a little bit higher than that. We're at 5%. Our 7-day incident rate, which is what I basically calculate out, which is our community transmission at this point, is down to 24, which is actually really good. That's 24 cases per day per 100,000 people, if we had 100,000 people. Hospitalization rates are also down to 776 in Mass. I was talking to my physician on the board this afternoon regarding what he's seeing at the hospitals. Right now, he said across Massachusetts, this is 91%. Overall bed capacity is being taken up right now, and 81 is for ICU beds. Out of those, 57% of those beds are for non-COVID reasons. What we're seeing locally in the hospitals here is a lot of patients for other things aside from COVID taking up the ICU beds. It's the treatments and things that people put off for the last 2 years are now catching up. So they're full. They're not surging and they're not overfull at this point, but they are full and they are dealing with a lot of other things aside from COVID. He said basically getting back to what they were doing pre-pandemic. And back to you.
All right. So as a COVID task force, as many know, back in August 24th of 2021, Commissioner Riley and DESE implemented a statewide mask mandate for all public schools and schools in Massachusetts. And as you heard last week, the big news from the governor and the commissioner that as of February 28th, they are lifting the statewide mandatory mask mandate in our public schools. And that means that will expire, and it would be mask choice unless a local school committee implemented their own local mask mandate, which the commissioner and governor have mentioned is a possibility, and some communities are doing. On the 28th, with no new policy in place, it would expire, and local districts, it would revert to the local level, and it would be mask choice. And regardless of any outcome tonight, I hope that people are respectful of any choice people make. If they go mask optional and it becomes mask choice, I think it's important to respect folks who may choose not to wear a mask, and it's important to have that respect and those raised values for people who may want to still continue to wear a mask. There are a few caveats, though. It would be masks, if it was mask choice. Masks would still be required on school buses, and that's a federal order. In health offices or health, because they're considered a healthcare setting, and after 5 days of isolation and quarantine as they return to school on days 6 through 10. Masks are recommended by DESE for unvaccinated students to continue to wear them in schools, but that's our recommendation. Once it expires, on the 28th it expires, any individual who wishes to continue to mask, I think I just said this, should be supported in that choice, and they're recommending that visitors in the school buildings wear masks as well. We encourage at-home testings. If you have not opted in yet, we've blasted it out a few times. We've been sending home rapid antigen tests for all of our students who want to sign up. So you get one a week. And we're going to continue, regardless of any decision made in any community. We've had a lot of other successful mitigation strategies, and it doesn't mean that those are out the window. So the importance of the hand washing, all those other mitigation strategies are really still very important. So the COVID task force, again, we meet weekly, and the COVID task force supports the lifting of the mask mandate as it expires on the 28th. I think as Brian mentioned and Cheryl, looking at the positive case counts and attendance as measures, we have the ability to resume masking if it was ever necessary. The state will continue to monitor and look, and if there was ever an uptick, the Director of Public Health has the authority to ask us to put masks back on in a specific setting or a specific school if there was ever a case like we hit in January with high numbers. We want to create a culture that it's okay to mask. Again, masks required on school buses and health offices in that 6 to 10 day period. Per DESE, we're strongly recommended unvaccinated students and staff continue to wear masks. That's DESE's recommendation. And we encourage, again, students and staff to opt in to the at-home COVID testing program. And Cheryl, do you want to talk a little bit about the when to test?
Right. So when we first introduced the program, we told families that they could pick whatever day they wanted to do the test. And families can still do that, but now their recommendation is that have families, staff, and students test on Sundays, especially after a vacation. So if this were to, masks were to be off on February 28th, it would be good to test on Sunday before we come back from vacation. Because we'd be losing one mitigation strategy, this is another one. And we had about 2,600 tests go home either today or they'll go home tomorrow to elementary and middle school students, and seniors high school students can pick them up during their 3 lunches. And if anybody didn't opt in and wants to, it's not too late. You can just email me or one of your school nurses. Desi told us to order extra, especially with these decisions coming up. So we have plenty of tests, and if anybody wants the test kits, they'll be available.
Great. And the other mitigation strategies, I have to commend the community. I think everyone's done a lot. It's been a heck of a roller coaster ride over the last almost 2 years now. And we've had a worldwide pandemic that has definitely impacted, students, staff, families, everyone significantly in different ways. As we continue to move forward, we'll continue with those other mitigation strategies, and I commend the families. You've been keeping your kids home when sick. You've been calling the hotline, to get advice from our nurses in the morning, and thank God for the nurses who man the 6 to 8 a.m. hotline every day.
Cheryl. That's me.
That's Cheryl. And continue up with those other good practices. We'll distance as much as we can and all those different things, but we want to continue to keep our kids safe and make those choices. And then last but not least, we have Dr. Chan here. He's our school physician, and I'd like to introduce him if he has anything additional to add.
I think you covered most of it. So we're in a very different place than we were last year. There were no vaccinations at that time, same time last year. So we've got a large quantity of people now who are vaccinated. We have home testing now, which is readily available and well used, apparently. And numbers are starting to go down. If you'd asked me, should we unmask 2 weeks ago, would have been a really bad time for anything to happen to somebody to get sick in any way. Because if you need to go to the hospital, there's a good chance that there's going to be delayed care because they were just simply overwhelmed. But looking at those hospitalization rates are coming down. I've been keeping a close eye with my colleagues over at my pediatric practice. We've been pleased with the way things are going. The one thing that we've kind of discussed amongst ourselves as a group, as a pediatric group, kind of some raised eyebrows as far as the timing with regards to like the 28th, because it's right after everyone decides to leave and then everyone comes back. And historically, it's been shown that, there are sometimes, there are going to be increases in cases. But it's also great to know that these other things are also in place. Testing at home, like you recommended, right before coming back. We know a lot of these people are now vaccinated compared to last year where we saw another surge after February break. But that was our only concern. Otherwise, we're very, it's a matter of like when to unmask, and we would think that would be soon. If anyone has any questions or needs clarification, I'm happy to tell you how I feel about it.
We'll start virtually there. Ms. Picard, any questions?
I do, yes. Thank you all for what you've shared. My first question would be, the booster rate is 44%, but there'd be a number of people who are vaccinated who are not eligible for the booster yet. Do we know what percentage of those who are eligible have been boosted? Or what percentage of those who are vaccinated are not yet eligible for booster?
It's 44% of eligible residents have been boosted.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful to me. I know I ask this a lot, but I'm wondering about those students who have been sick, how sick they've been. I know they've missed days of school, but have we had students hospitalized? Have we had students who have, because there'd be so few, it might be a confidentiality issue, even to give like, yes, there's a number, yes, there's one person who's had long COVID, or, but anything that you can tell us about the severity of the illness with students.
Sure. First of all, I'll say, we've had, by now, especially after that surge in January, hundreds of kids who've had COVID. So quite a few. I'll start off by saying initially what's reassuring is that the kids who get COVID are not particularly sick. Hospitalization rates are really low amongst them. The real concern is more like you have a parent who gets sick, and we've had a few where a parent actually gets sick enough that they can't take care of the kids, so it ends up being quite a quite a difficult period for them. But other than that, directly for the kids themselves, not particularly. We're pretty reassured. It's more concerned about the spread. It is so infectious.
Thank you. I have several more questions. I think you said that 57% of people who are hospitalized are not primarily hospitalized for COVID. Does that mean 43% of hospital beds are currently filled with COVID as a primary diagnosis?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
And are we still not having optional surgeries in Massachusetts? Or I know they were going to get started. I'm wondering if patients in COVID, patients with COVID are taking up the seats of those who would need hospital care who are now being delayed.
I think that's a great point because a lot of, even when we see in our own clinics, we don't see what our colleagues over at the hospital are dealing with. And like the indirect effects, for example, if somebody has a broken leg, has a heart attack, and if you had to go in January 10th, say for emergency medical care, there's a real chance that, you wouldn't be getting the care you really need for something like that. So while, it's great to know that, it's not affecting people so much, but if you get enough people infected, some are going to be really sick, and it's just going to burden the system even more. So that's really what it comes down to. That's why it's important to use we think the metrics for hospitalization rates as really important to look at. And, chances are, we're going to hear, I think, from CDC next week. My guess is that they'll probably use hospitalization rates in your local area as to, well, how safe it is. Is it for you to unmask and do those things?
I'm thinking about things too, like people who need to have knee replacement might need to be putting it off because there aren't beds. They're not allowed to go in for that at this time. I'm thinking about the mitigation strategies that you talked about, and some of them that I recall are frequent hand washing and use of hand sanitizer, distancing, students facing forward. Those are all mitigation strategies that will be continued. Is that correct? They do not need a policy to continue?
Correct.
Correct.
And I'm wondering if you, Cheryl, are experiencing pushback on any of those other mitigation strategies that we're using.
No, not at all.
Great. I still have a couple more questions if you can be patient with me. At this point, Dr. Chan, you said you would be recommending it would be okay to not have face coverings in school at some time soon. We're going to need to make a vote later tonight about when that soon time is or later time is. So I wonder if you have a specific date for soon.
I don't know if I can get specific, but as far as history has shown us, typically after a break, whether it be Christmas or Thanksgiving, school breaks, typically there's a little surge roughly about the 2 weeks afterwards. So it stands to reason that 2 weeks we expect to see some activity.
And I understand that you're making some policy recommendations at this time. I wonder if you have any behavior recommendations that you would make.
For example, what kinds of things? What are you meaning
So,
there, Helen?
So in a prior version of our mask policy, the prior language was masks were strongly encouraged, either for those who are unvaccinated or those who are immunocompromised. Would you be using any kind of language like we strongly encourage you to wear masks, or do whatever you want? Wearing a mask doesn't really matter. It doesn't really help. Wearing a mask is actually dangerous for you. You should not wear a mask because it increases your chances of infection. So I'm looking for your recommendations on behavior. Should we be wearing masks? Should we not be wearing masks? Would you encourage people to wear masks? Would you discourage people from wearing masks? It would help me to understand that.
So maybe the best way I could phrase this is if a patient of my own came to see me in the office and they said, well, what do you think about this the dropping of the mask mandate? I would have several things to say. One is those who are afraid to unmask. I would say we're really close, I think, with everything that's coming up, for you to feel that you should feel safe in unmasking at some point in the near future. Okay. On the other side, when you have somebody who's also saying, well, I'm ready to unmask right now, I would say, well, as far as timing, we've just known from experience that this, there's going to be a surge, and to have, I would encourage you to mask up when you're in the schools for a short period of time.
Thank you. That's very helpful to me in the discussion that we're having. And I'm certainly not trying to put you on the spot any more than it seems like we need to have some of this information. So I appreciate it.
Right.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
don't.
McDevitt.
Yeah. We're certainly not anti-mask or extremely pro-mask. It's just we feel like there's. At what point are we going to get there? And we're headed there. I really do think that. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. McDevitt.
Awesome. All right, Ms. Petrowski.
I have a couple of questions. So just to try to clarify, because a couple weeks ago we had discussed lifting the mask mandate for the high school only because we had exceeded that 80% of vaccination rate. And I think you had advised against that. From what I remember, I thought we had said not ready, or maybe not right now.
They were ready on March 7th, they recommended.
They recommended after break.
Yep.
After break, right. So not then is what I meant. Right. Not right, because you had said like not right this moment, and that was then. So my question is it because now we have these opt-in testing kits that changes everything for the whole district? And how does the vaccination rate at the elementary schools play into this? Like I at the high school we're at 80%, but I know at the elementary schools we're not quite there yet. So I'm just trying to clarify, because we were working towards that 80% for the high school, and now we've taken it away from everybody. So I'm just wondering if we can clarify how that impacts. Does that make sense?
So it does. So things have changed since that last meeting. Our numbers continued to decrease. So I think that was one thing. We now have another mitigation strategy. We have the at-home test kit, which we didn't have before.
Right.
And I think, too, Brian and I attend a lot of every week, the DPH phone calls, and we listen to a lot of respected epidemiologists, and they presented us with a lot. So DPH and DESE both supported this change. So it wasn't just DESE. It was also the Department of Public Health. So, I mean, I think that a lot, we've listened to them weekly, and we followed their guidance, and so that's why I felt that, based on what has changed, that's why I think that the date could be different.
Okay.
I guess an extreme way to explain that is 80% vaccination rate when COVID is everywhere, like everyone's got it, is a bad time to do that.
Okay.
But 80% with an extremely low rate, it's not around. So you're not going to run into it so much. But if you do, it's great. So it's a combination of things that you look at. It's not just simply our vaccination rate is 80%. Great, we're all set. No, it's like what is circulating too.
That's really helpful.
If
that
it
makes
doesn't
sense.
circulate, then you're
We
all
also
set.
had a large percentage of people get COVID, so they do have some natural immunity as well.
Right. Do we?
That's a good point. Of the 20% who aren't, some of them have already had COVID.
Sure. Yeah. No. Thank you. I think it's helpful for everybody to hear that information. Right.
Okay, there's no question. Nope, there's no questions from you. I'm sorry. Thank you.
And then my other question is, do we need to have like a metrics in place for, like, if we had a surge, like what do we look at? Do we look at the hospitalization rates? Do we look at the numbers of cases in town? Like, what do we have to have that number set? I don't.
So you see that I present, like, every time we come here too, every day, though, we have the COVID dashboard and the daily rate, and we meet weekly, as Dr. Gilligan said, like every single week, but we also talk all the time.
Yeah.
So if I even saw a cluster because we monitor that, we would have a conversation. And, I mean, we just learned this week that, like, the Board of Health could implement a change. And so I feel comfortable with that, knowing that I can call and say, look, we have 6 cases at this school right now. And this is, so, it would be a lot of things. We also monitor attendance because now that home tests, we don't have PCR. So it's if parents call us and let us know about cases. So we don't always have the accurate numbers. So I do look at attendance as well, or we do as a district.
Yep.
So I think it would be a lot of things that we would look at.
Okay.
And we've had experience for 2 years doing it. So I'm very comfortable with looking at all of the numbers.
Yeah.
I would just add, I feel really confident and comfortable with Brian LaGrasse, making that recommendation. We work closely with him as the public health director. Previously, the superintendent could make that call, but, it's a terrific group. It's collaborative. They have the information. I think that is a change that's significant, so.
And do we think that the opt-in home testing could kind of offset, like, so if we do this date now, it's directly after vacation week where we would have a surge, but if enough people followed that protocol, then maybe it would kind of contain it if there were more people that coming back from vacation or whatever that were, I don't know.
Well, we have 2,600 people that took the test, so that's an add, one more, it's one more layer.
I know lots of people are going to do it. Yeah, right. So like it's kind of balancing out like, okay. I don't think I have more questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Vici?
You touched on one of my questions, and it was regarding the date. So that explains you did consider March 7th and decided that February 28th was just as safe.
3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago, I would have really wanted March 7th, right?
Okay.
But again, things have definitely changed.
Okay. And then, Dr. Gilligan, who is going to enforce, or how are we going to enforce the day 6 to 10 with a mask?
So, that's part of so a couple things is you have 2 federal mandates with the health office and with the buses, and then the Mass DPH and DESC, that's their protocol. And so we've been following protocols all along. So, we'd be working with the administration, we'd be working with Cheryl and the nurses to figure out who are the folks that are coming back and would need to do that.
So we typically have conversations with families to make sure students are feeling okay. If they have any questions, are they ready to return? And we will have that conversation. That's the requirement to wear a mask from day 6 to 10. I don't know, and I'm not sure how else it's going to be monitored, but we'll certainly have the conversation. And their numbers are low, that's only a few, but again, the other point that Dr. Gillian made, like, we really do have to have a culture where it's okay for everybody to, some have masks, some not have masks. I mean, the nurses have to. We have to wear them in the health office, so that's one place where masks will be modeled, because every school nurse will have to, and you have to have a mask in that, on the buses. And then, people that are on day 6 to 10, you want them to feel comfortable, and that's okay. They're getting better and want to be back in school. So I just want to make sure that we all reinforce that, and I hope all parents reinforce that it's okay. You can have a mask or not have a mask, it's okay.
Okay. I just didn't know if this was a burden on the teachers to be responsible.
We're not going to push that. Teachers usually know who's been absent for 5 days, and they,
Let's hope.
So they might remind a student that they're on day 6 to 10, but.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Mably?
Just to tie in that, hopefully that would be a level of respect that everybody would have for each other. If someone's been out, that you would follow that 5-day thing. I hope that we can trust people to do that.
It's much better than being out for 10 days.
Correct. That's right. So actually, this is something that both, actually Dr. Gilligan and Pam brought up. So the whole idea of the community's been so good about saying, calling the hotline. I've had to make my calls well, and find out, should we be staying home? What should we be doing? Relative to that, and again, tied to this vacation, everybody's concerned about coming back from a holiday break, a vacation break, and then all of a sudden bringing COVID. Have people been, like, when we get the numbers, how many of them actually come to school and then get sent home versus already are at home? And so we see a report, let's say there are 20 cases at a school. If 18 of them never walked back in, Like,
Right, so that's
kind of a
that's
different
good question.
story.
So, we ask for people that are symptomatic to stay home. Sometimes students don't get their symptoms until a little bit later in the day. So the nurses, anyone that opted in for school testing, the nurses do Binax test during school. So in the last 2 weeks, I looked at those numbers this morning. We probably did 48 tests, and 6 of them were positive for COVID, so those students went home. If they are still feeling okay, they go back to class, or if they still don't feel well, they just go home.
Right.
I did look back to like January, and that we did 300, in-school tests, and there were 90 that went home. So, but that's why it's so different now.
Right.
So yes, we just had one this morning at one of the schools. So, child thought he was okay, but so it's hard with the symptoms to know when to come to school. I think people are doing their best, but at least we can catch it at school and send them home.
Right. But like after the holiday break, when people came back, a lot of people just didn't come back because they already were COVID and
Oh, right,
reported
yes,
it, right?
yes,
So,
yes.
So to your point, Ms. Mabley, not.
I'm trying to work. I think the touchy point about all this is that 28th, and as Dr. Chan mentioned, that coming right back from a vacation. But if people are good about, if they're symptomatic or don't feel well, just don't come to school, it doesn't screw it up for everybody, right? So that's.
I wanted to, yeah. And Ms. Mabley, so I just wanted to echo what you had asked. Cheryl puts all the data in, whether someone's been to school or not.
Right.
When this pandemic started, we had in-school exposures, and for full transparency, our dashboard indicates any student, who tests positive, what school they're at. That's where the numbers we put in. But to your point, there are people that will not step foot in school because they've taken a home test, or they, they don't feel well and then they test.
Right.
I think the big change here is to get 2,600 tests in the hands of students to test once a week or use if they're symptomatic. If Cheryl says, hey, this is the best day to test, by all means, if you're symptomatic, you could take that test on a different day and use the kit.
Right.
But it just the access to the people who, A, didn't have the money to buy the test,
Right.
B, the ability to go to a CVS at the right time or a Walgreens when they're open and have a box of them. So that's a significant new mitigation.
Right.
Yeah. And just to say that again, like these tests you can use for symptoms.
Right.
100%.
So obviously.
And you should.
So
and
it's-
if you still have symptoms, and if it's negative, test the next day.
Right.
Sometimes it's the next day that it will test a positive. And we'll give you more tests if you need them.
Right.
We have plenty of tests.
the doctor's office.
Yes.
Right. I think that's super helpful. I mean, it seems like now that looking back at what happened last week, they rolled out that whole test thing to set up for this date, it seems like, right? So.
Might be a coincidence.
Interesting. I think most people have asked, but that was my key question, so thank you.
One, I just want to thank you guys for being here today and your presentation and all of your support and guidance throughout all of our days. So I'm just thinking back here, as a community, we have, followed the guidelines. We've continued with all of those. We have asked DESE and the state for an exit strategy all along. When that mandate came out, I think it was August 24th or something like that. There's now that opportunity on February 28th. We've got available tests in the hands of families. So I'm going to ask you one question for the three of you. Do you support, your first bullet there, do you support lifting the mask mandate on February 28th? Ms. Barzak?
Yes.
Ms. Barzak?
I do.
Dr. Chen?
I would wait.
Okay. Thank you. All right. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Mr. McDevitt,
Yes.
may I ask a follow-up question?
Sure.
With regards to contact tracing, I know the state said that we didn't have to do contact tracing in school anymore. If we change the mask mandate, do we change what's required for contact tracing?
No, we don't.
Nope.
So there'll still be no contact tracing in school?
There will not. Now,
And-
of course, if there's a cluster, we would let parents know about that.
And remind me what the CDC recommendations or guidelines are if we are close contacts with somebody who is COVID positive. Say in my home, There's somebody who's COVID positive in my home. I'm not vaccinated. Am I to be in school without symptoms, or am I to be at home?
If you'd be at home for 5 days in quarantine, and then you would be in school with a mask on day 6 through 10. If you are
And if I'm-
unvaccinated and a close contact to someone at home. Right?
And if I am vaccinated and I'm a close contact anywhere, I am not required to quarantine.
It depends if you have symptoms or not.
Okay, can you please explain that just one more time for us?
So if
So
you're-
I'm vaccinated, I have no symptoms, I don't have to quarantine. I'm vaccinated, I have symptoms, I do have to quarantine.
you should test if you have symptoms and you're
Thank you.
vaccinated. Everyone with symptoms should test, vaccinated or
Okay.
not.
And then I think this is probably a question for Ms. Marks. Are we hearing?
Dr.
Are you
Marks?
hearing from the? Yeah, from Ms. Marks.
Am I hearing what?
Because
Helen?
we've been talking a little bit about bullying, and we've been talking about people with and without masks. Perhaps being bullied by their peers or by adults. And so I'm wondering, are you hearing a lot of mask bullying is taking place in school? Are principals scratching their heads and struggling with mask bullying in schools at this time?
No, I think overall our students have been really supportive of one another. I have no bullying reports related to masks at all.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Mr. McDevitt, I appreciate the time. I wonder, Mr. McDevitt, are we going to be leaving this and returning to it after we talk about all these other things?
Yep, we will be voting on this probably in another 10 or 15 minutes, I'd say.
Thank you.
Yep, great. All right, Dr. Gilligan.
All right, so next up, and I will keep this brief, it is all online. Dr. Maley, if you wouldn't mind just clicking on, typically at this time of the year, I like to take an opportunity to report out on my mid-cycle goals. As the superintendent here in North Andover, it's very special because we have shared goals with the school committee and the superintendent. The superintendent has a couple goals, and then we have the school committee goals. So, despite all the challenges, again, I think a big shout out to our students. I think we heard our students tonight, how articulate they are, how well they have spoken, and they've handled a lot of this in stride, and I'm really proud of them, number one. Number two, this school year has really been a remarkable year. I think that we've made significant progress. The budget for next year, it's remarkable. It's one of the largest increases we've had in years, maybe a decade or more, to have the ability to bring on the people we need to service our students and provide an excellent education for them, but also provide what they need, coming out of a pandemic. So I think that's really important. And then two, what's really exciting is, a long-term plan that matches up with a facilities master plan too, with building construction as well as expansion. So, Dr. Maley, but if you could just go, I'm going to just highlight a couple areas on a couple goals. If you could go to number one, that goal was a shared goal with the school committee and myself and with Dr. Maley, but it's collaborate with municipal officials and engage residents to ensure appropriate, adequate educational facilities and funding in the future to decrease class size and better meet the needs of all students. And there were several key actions, as you can see, several benchmarks. And I would just, Dr. Maley, if you could just click on the presentation one link below. I just want to highlight this one. The school committee the school capacity planning committee made a recommendation to the school committee, which took a final vote, and it was a tremendous presentation, huge amount of work done by parents from all the schools, hours and hours of website work, tons of work by Dr. Maley, and I just can't say enough about the group that put all of this together. If you haven't had a chance, right on our main page, NorthAndoverPublicSchools.com, there's a school capacity planning link, and it will take you all to the latest, most up-to-date information on that. So this is just one piece of evidence I wanted to highlight there. Dr. Maley, if you don't mind, on Goal 2, through ongoing discussions with the district and school-based teams, we'll continue to identify and address unfinished learning results from the myriad challenges of various teaching and learning models employed during the COVID-19 pandemic. Again, there's several key actions and benchmarks to be measured, and the mid-cycle evidence at this time. I really want to really highlight two things. If you get a chance, this isn't the one I do not want you to click on this one, Jim. But if you're at home or you're on your computer, click on the summer programming we put in last summer. It actually, we've migrated to a new website that's pretty awesome. There's still some work to do on it, but this is archived on our old website, but it was a remarkable couple pages, so if you get a chance, look at it. But Dr. Mealy, if you don't mind just clicking on the recovery positions. Yeah, thanks, Jim. You know, the relationship of working with the town manager, the ability for her to help provide money from free cash for us last year in order to meet the needs of our students in terms of academics, SEL, all the different needs, which, by the way, have always been part of our long-term plan. And, you know, during this pandemic, the money for recovery services has increased, and we've been able to provide desperately needed positions that we've needed for a while, such as 6.5 elementary interventionists, a counselor, an extra counselor at the high school, an extra counselor at the middle school, an extra counselor at elementary, a school psychologist at the high school. These are just examples. But the recovery services program put together as a team about using a consultant, working with folks, taking input to make those best decisions, running the Acceleration Academy in the summer, and then moving into these long-term positions was really, I think, remarkable. And if we go to Goal 3, Jim, Dr. Mealy, for 2021, the school year, the district will support a district-wide commitment to social justice and equity for all students and staff. The district will continue working to create a culture that reflects and respects and embraces the voices, perspectives, and differences arising from our diverse community here in North Andover. So, Dr. Mealy, if you don't mind, if you just could click on the Equity Maven. Equity, it should be Equity Mavens. Miss Marks named this one.
It actually wasn't me,
You know, I think it's really important to point out, besides our regular PD, we've had almost 250 teachers and administrators who have taken the following professional development courses around, for example, disrupting inequity, you know, talking about embrace, empower, and educate, teaching for equity and justice, building learning communities, facing history in ourselves, programming in this district. And that is really remarkable. On top of the traditional PD that we have folks participating in this type of PD too. So those are just a few examples.
What's White Fragility? Yeah, what's White Fragility?
That was a book club. It was just a book club based on a book that folks had read.
What was the book?
White
So-
Fragility.
What is it?
Wait, I don't know. What was the book? Do you know the name?
White Fragility.
White Fragility was the book.
Oh,
okay.
So that was one of the books that folks looked at for teachers outside of the regular traditional PD. Those were a couple of things that we had looked at. And Dr. Mealy, we had a last goal of communicate. The school committee had a goal, and I didn't put the school committee evidence in. I didn't want to be as presumptuous to do so. But this was really remarkable in the sense of a lot of these things. You've hit a lot of these milestones.
Yep.
And we can add those in. And this is informational only, just an update.
Perfect. All right. Anything else, Dr. Glenn?
That is it for the update on this.
All right, I will be brief. So a couple of quick things. One, just want to, because we usually don't have a public, just let people know if they haven't seen. At our last meeting, we actually approved the budget, which will now go to the select board and the town meeting in May. 5.3%. In a traditional year, we will be somewhere in the 2.5, 2 3/4. So this is more than double what we have seen. since way before I was on the school committee. So this is going back 10 plus years now. The reality of this is the services that we have this year are continuing and will continue, and they are now part of the budget, so they are becoming kind of permanent changes and programs that we're able to offer our students, knowing and understanding that learning is continuing, and we are working to complete the unfinished learning as a result of the past year or two. And then two just amazing programs that are coming up. One has a registration deadline, I think a week from tomorrow, which is executive functioning skills that is put on by the North Andover CPAC. That meeting is actually on the February 28th from 7 to 9. And then I learned of one today, which is anxiety and stress with athletes on March 16th, and that's at the middle school. I do think the participation of that is somewhat limited, so I'm sure we'll have that out on our webpage if it's not already. Maybe you can tweet it, so families are able to get registered.
Yeah,
Thank
be in
you.
tomorrow's newsletter.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. All right, Dr. Mealy, one last, and then we'll get to maybe a vote.
Okay, so Dr. Gilligan referenced the school capacity planning, and if you haven't heard, we have some major school projects coming up in the next few years, and we're going to highlight the first 4 of those projects, 2 of which are school related. We have coming up in this May's school town meeting will be designed for middle school renovation and a new Kittredge school. The other 2 projects that are the first half of the master plan include the fire station and a gym at Franklin. And how this works, working with the town manager, Dr. Gilligan and the town manager work closely. The financial plan works for us, and while things will change, certainly have Facilities Master Plan 1 saw changes over the course of the 10, 11 years of the projects. We'll expect that to happen again, but new revenue sources or information will come forward and could change the plan, moving things up quicker than what we have right now. But it certainly addresses the middle school needs, which we've identified for the longest time, and the possibility of MSBA funding for Kittredge. We asked recently, and Dr. Gillen, did you want to make that announcement?
Which one?
MSBA reimbursement rate?
Oh, yes. So the MSBA is set to vote on the Kittredge project on March 2nd. And the good news is we asked about the current MSBA rate, and it was roughly, Jim, I think 50%.
It's 50% right now. That changes from one year to the next, not a lot. But you're also eligible, depending on the construction and the design, if you incorporate certain features into the school that are energy efficient or things like that, that percentage could go up as well.
Great.
And because a new Kittredge is the most expensive project, it's upfront to avoid escalation costs over time. And working with the town manager, it allows us to use our decreasing debt to our advantage because then we don't need to have a exclusion or a override in order to make those first projects happen. So without MSBA approval, there would be no impact to a taxpayer for the first 2 years, and then it would be $248 on average per year for the next 3 years after that. But if we do get MSBA approval for the Kittredge project, there would be no impact for the first 4 projects to the tax rate. They would be funded through free cash and debt falling off, and we would not have to raise taxes any more than the annual 2.5% that they get raised in order to renovate the middle school and add to the middle school, build a new Kittredge, renovate the fire station number 2, and add a Franklin gym. So coming up, and this is really important, every single project is a standalone project. The vote at town meeting is for the design 1 year and then the construction of the project the next, but a vote at any town meeting does not approve all of the projects, just the particular project that's being voted on that year. So this coming year will be both the middle school renovation, design of middle school renovation and a new Kittredge Elementary.
Okay. All right.
That's it.
All right. Any questions for Dr. Mealy?
Helen's raising her hand.
Ms. Picard?
Yep, I have a couple questions. The first one is, the Mount Vernon group was going to finalize their report. Did that become public? Is there a place we can find that easily?
Yes, it will shortly. We met as a working group earlier this week, and we have hired, the town and us have hired open-the-door consultants to help us educate and provide information for the projects going forward. And so that'll include making public the final report.
Thank you. And I'm wondering, does MSBA have any public comment time? And if any of the students who spoke tonight might be able to speak in favor of the Kittredge project?
We would be guaranteed getting approval if that was the case.
Do they take any public comment? Is there any encouragement that the community can give for MSBA to approve our Kittredge school?
Well, I'm not aware of public comment. I know that they accept communications. I know our representatives have sent a letter of support, very well written, so we can support it that way.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the committee?
Would it make sense to have letters sent to the MSBA? I was actually thinking along the same lines. We've got a lovely crowd here tonight, and they spoke, and the students especially, I was so proud of them. They spoke so eloquently, and I mean, I don't know. Would it make sense?
Maybe we can touch base on that tomorrow, Dr. Gilligan.
Yeah, we can certainly touch base. What I can tell you is that our local representatives, senators, and representatives for North Andover sent a terrific letter in support of the Kittredge School.
Okay.
So they do vote coming up on the 2nd. So what's that? That's next. It's
2
after
weeks.
break.
Yeah.
The Wednesday after break.
Got it.
Yep.
Yeah, in the spirit of killing two birds with one stone, we did talk about having our students either with CAM or writing letters to the community asking for support for the projects, so they could just go to MSBA as well.
Actually, no, that's a fantastic idea, I think. And who better than the Kittredge students? But I mean, all of the North Andover community should be encouraged to support that and to show their support.
Awesome. Other thoughts, questions? All right, couple of minutes off schedule here. Old business, revisiting or the mask policy, face covering policy, EBCFA. So the recommended action here is that the school committee retain, revise, or rescind the policy. In the attachments, we have the press release from DESE as well as MIAA. So I would entertain a motion from the committee.
I move that we rescind the face mask policy, EBCFA.
Second.
Okay, so motion made by Ms. Picard, seconded by Ms. Petrowski. Any additional conversation?
When? That wasn't part of the motion.
Ms. Picard, did you want to put a date on that?
We're going to vote right now.
No, when,
No.
when would you rescind it
July.
as of what date, Ms.
Well-
Picard?
Well, if they rescind it now, it would expire on the 28th.
Okay, I see what you're
Right.
saying. So we don't even have to say.
You don't have to put a
Okay.
date necessarily. Actually, good clarification.
Okay.
Okay. So motion is to rescind, seconded, motion made by Ms. Picard, seconded by Ms. Petrowski. Any discussion, comments? Seeing none, hearing none.
I just feel like we've had that discussion, right? We did our discernment a minute ago.
Okay. Perfect. All right, roll call vote. Ms. Picard,
Yes.
Ms. Petrowski,
Yes.
Ms. Vitsky.
Yes.
Ms. Mably.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. 5-0. We are maskless on February 28th.
That's optional.
Mask optional.
Mr. McDevitt?
Yes. Mask optional, sorry.
I'm very interested in some of the conversation that we had with our COVID task force. And I'm interested in how we might be encouraging after vacation, both to how and where and when, and we're going to include our raised messaging about the choice that will be available.
So one thing I know is that tomorrow the nightly news comes out, which is the communication that we put out middle of every month. So I'm sure that we will have some aspects of that, and then perhaps a reminder as we end up the February winter break.
That's
to start.
I think it's important that we be cognizant that there is a certain percentage of folks in town, at least high school students, that think that we are stupid. And we have not made everyone happy, despite the applause here. There are some people who are going to be very concerned and very upset about this. And it's important that we provide supports for those folks that need to have a little bit of extra encouragement and need to talk about safety and how to be safe, especially our most vulnerable folks who may not be eligible for vaccinations and may have health needs. So I trust the administration is going to address that fully as well.
Yeah, I mean, we meet every week. We'll be sending in the nightly news tomorrow, all the updated information. So you have rescinded the mask policy, which expires on the 28th. That means it's gone. Some communities have amended or made other changes. What that means is the messaging will be as stands, that it's mask choice. And there are certain instances, in terms of the bus, in terms of the health office. For example, I know the MI2A. So if you're a high school athlete, right? And let me just give you an example. I believe, and I stand to be corrected, but, it's going to be the host site's rules. So I think Haverhill just lifted their mask mandate.
They did.
Starting on the 28th. So if North Andover went to play Haverhill in athletics, my understanding would be that it would be mask choice.
Mask choice.
Now, I don't think the city of Lawrence, who is in the Merrimack Valley Conference, has lifted their masks yet. I have not heard that.
They are not.
My wife works there, so I think that I'd know, but they have not. So if North Andover went to play Lawrence, I think we're going to be outdoors, and outdoors there are not masks required unless people want to wear them. But if we went to play Lawrence tomorrow in basketball, or hypothetically, if there was a basketball game on the 28th of February.
We get it.
Okay. Okay. All right, you got it. That's the MI2A one. Well, the MI2A changes all the time, so.
All right.
Mr. McDowell, can I just make a comment?
Yes, Ms. Mather.
I just want to say, I think the reason why, for me, this was an easy decision to make is really for two reasons. One is because if there's any reason that at any building or any situation something goes haywire, there are opportunities in place to take a short, opportunity to put the mask back on until things settle down or what have you. The whole point of this is kids need to be in school, and we can't suddenly have mass absences. So the fact that if that's necessary, it can happen without us having to trot out all this stuff, that's great. And the other reason is because I think the community's been really good about when people are sick, staying home, following all the protocols and all the procedures and being respectful, and that's why it's going to work. So that's why it was, just so you guys know, we think about this every day. We have for 2 years. It's not easy, and these are the types of things that we go through all the time, so I just wanted to share some of my thoughts.
All right. Awesome. All right.
Helen's raising her hand.
Helen's raising her hand.
Sorry, Ms. Picard?
Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was going to ask Dr. Gilligan to, sorry, I lost it. If it comes back, I'll shout. I'm constantly writing notes because I could lose my train of thought when you call on me. So I apologize. Thank
That's
you.
all right. We have member comments at the end, so. All right. All right, we're going to move on. Recycling materials policy, 10A. Dr. Gilligan, you want to...
It's actually Dr. Mealy.
Oh, Dr. Mealy, sorry.
Yeah, well, this is going to be riveting. I can wait a couple seconds if people would like to take
we
the
want to wait
opportunity.
and take a minute, maybe?
You know how to clear a room, Dr. Mealy. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you.
You don't have to stay. You can go.
Is there anyone left?
Ms. Petrowski has the car keys. So,
Actually, I gave them to him. And we're walking distance. It's nice out.
I know, I walked
Oh,
in.
Mr. McDevitt, Mr. McDevitt, I remember what my question, what I wanted Dr. Dealigan to explain.
he's just going to step out of the room if you.
Okay, so maybe Ms. Marks could explain it.
Okay.
I just gotta grab something from.
One of the questions or one of the comments from the high school students was that we should provide Google Meet as an option for students who, for whatever reason, can't be in school or don't want to be in school. And I was hoping that Ms. Marks could explain why we're not doing that.
It is not an option per the Department of Education. That is not an option. They want students in school.
So it's not a local control. It's not a local
Right.
decision. It's
Right.
not something this board can make happen for anybody, or that
Correct.
this administration can make happen.
Correct.
Yeah, it just felt like that clarification might be helpful for folks. Not that anybody's listening, but
Okay. All right. You want to walk us through the recycling policy?
Sure.
All right.
So we have, a couple years ago, we got a grant that pays for a coordinator for the district. It also has paid for supplies and materials related to recycling and composting. But one of the conditions of the grant is to update the policy and renew the policy. And so what you have in front of you is we have the existing policy included, but the one I'm showing is the existing policy, and then with the strike through and in blue, new language. And they're not substantial. Met with Amy just to go over these. They added to the policy in using materials with recycled content whenever possible. We thought it was important to not say will, but will strive to, because we don't always do as well as we want, but we will certainly strive to. The implementation it had was, it said the implementation of this policy is the responsibility of the school committee, which sounded odd to us because you're not out there actively making this happen. You're supporting it. And then, so we felt it was more important to say the effort will be supported by all of these people, including the school committee. And then adding, this is language that they had added to the new policy is consistent with our intent to be a leader in the area of environmental practices through our waste reduction and composting programs. That's a kind of a big focus now throughout the district schools. So some of the schools have started to collect and have it picked up by a separate vendor to be composted. And then the other two, they changed points 2 and 3, as you can see. But we also, it said all district personnel are expected to support. Can't really mandate that. So we changed that to encourage.
All right.
And this is just the first reading.
Any thoughts or questions?
Helen? I can see her nodding.
I have to write them down so I don't forget them before I say them. So my first question, I guess I'll go with number one because it's first. Why can't we expect people to do this? Why can't this be part of their job descriptions and their performance?
Is that a rhetorical question?
I guess so. If you don't want to answer it, it is. I mean, I'm discouraged that we're moving from an expectation to an encouragement. We just had a whole room full of people clap their hands when we moved from an expectation to an encouragement. So I'm a little disappointed in that weaker language. Although it is more collaborative language, I grant you that. My question on number 2, it looks like number 2 was intended to be some sort of a system of evidence and measures. So I'm wondering, did we ever do any measures? Did we ever weigh how much we're recycling, or are there any measures that we could implement, that we could report out that we're buying, 50% products with recycle content, or are there any measures that we've considered?
Yeah, so
or ever tried?
we did do some when we were implementing. That is actually the recommendation of the organization that provides the grant. They changed that language. I think they were having trouble consistently getting that data, or it's difficult to consistently get it to make accurate measurements. So I think that's why they made the change.
Yep, and so my third question was, are we having any trouble implementing this policy as it was, or expect any difficulties implementing? So I feel like you just answered that question. Thank you very much.
Well, I do have to add that, not surprisingly, the program has slowed down, especially the composting part, because it requires work by the custodians in cooperation from the custodians, and they are otherwise occupied and doing a lot of things with regards to COVID. So it has slowed down, and we're just looking for the time when we can kind of get momentum back again.
Thank you. And I just, I especially feel like our students really care about the planet and the climate. Sad that they weren't here for this conversation, actually. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. McDevitt.
Okay. Other questions from the committee? All right. Public comment?
I would just,
You're good.
actually, sorry, I'm a little late to the replying. I was just thinking
sorry.
about Helen's first comment, and wouldn't this have to be bargained for if we said it's an expectation?
Right.
I think you're right, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
That's it.
Okay. Good point. All right. No public comment, member comments. We'll start with you, Ms. Picard.
Yep, I just want to let you all know that I had a wonderful experience at Thompson School last week, providing information on hearing difficulty as part of the Understanding Our Differences. And I just so compliment the teachers and students. They were very engaged, and especially the coordinators of that program, Heidi and Maureen, who do just a great job making sure that information gets out. And I do believe that all of us will interact with somebody who has hearing difficulty at some point, whether it's an elderly grandparent or parent, or somebody who has hearing difficulty earlier in life. So I appreciate the accommodations of this committee for me, and I appreciate the opportunity to share that with the Thompson School. Got a wonderful note from a couple of parents and also from the Thompson principal about that opportunity. So thank you very much.
Ms. Petrowski?
I think probably everybody here went to see Mamma Mia last week and wanted to just rave about it and how wonderful it was. I was so impressed. I mean, we have so much talent at the high school. It's unbelievable. So kudos to them. They did a fantastic job.
Indeed. Ms. Vici?
No comments. Enjoy your week off.
I would agree Mamma Mia was spectacular, but particularly the sets were ridiculous, and I know that was done by students and parents. Some of the best sets they've ever had, I think, and I feel like everybody was perfectly cast and did a spectacular job, and I think the people who stole the whole night, though, were one of the choruses who came out in their crazy flippers. And it's just it was just
that was awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
so
Yes.
like down to each chorus, each
Yes.
subgroup, everybody was spectacular. So
Yeah.
one of the great highlights of the year so far.
Awesome. I'll just end it, try to bring us home a little bit. Thank you very much for your work and collaboration regarding the mask policy, EBCFA. I know we worked on an alternative policy for honestly probably 3 months, not anticipating that the governor and DESE was going to make that change, and how were we going to make that change with 80% at the high school once those students kind of reach that. So, a lot of work, a lot of reiterations, a lot of wordsmithing to try to be inclusive and supportive of students, faculty, and staff with all of that. And at the end of the day, DESE swept in probably about 10 days or so ago and gave us the ability to completely remove it for all of our students down to our youngest learners, which we did today. So I just want to thank you for your collaboration and teamwork and just partnership with all of that, and thank the community as well for their emails, their attendance tonight, and that's it. So I would then entertain, it looks like I have about 8:44, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Well done, Mr. McDevitt.
We're ahead of schedule.
I know.
I know.
Last time that happened, I was chair.
All right. For the record.
So moved, Mr. McDevitt.
Second.
Well, if we don't want you to kind of, beat the record here, we could keep going for a little while. So, motion made by Ms. Picard, seconded, did you make the motion? Or you
No,
just
Ms.
make the-
Picard.
She did, I
Okay, okay. Motion made by Ms. Picard, seconded by Ms. Vitsky. No discussion visible. I'll do a roll call vote. Ms. Picard?
Yes.
Ms. Petrowski?
Yes.
Ms. Vitsky?
Yes.
Ms. Mabley?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. We are adjourned at 8:45.